Thinking a lot about today and what are we gonna work on today? And I think yesterday I looked through this and I found a couple of questions. I wish everybody was here. We're not all here. But we're at, what I thought is I just teach like the general concept of the war chapters, and then we like kind of move like to the Sons of the Army of Helaman story, and like skip a bunch of stuff in the middle. But as I'm reading, I'm like, how can I just skip over these amazing stories and lessons? So we'll be in Alma 50 and 51 today, and it kind of touches on this, like when life gets difficult, what do you do? And I'm going to find a couple of questions in here. This one really, well, I guess I care a lot about what I'm talking about because I'm getting emotional. It says, is suicide a sin? And do people who hurt themselves go to hell? Whoa, that's pretty heavy. That's somebody asking a real question. And that really affects me because that's a tough place to be. And I really hope that what we talk about today, that somehow this person who's asking this question, whether it's for yourself or somebody you know and care about, who's experiencing this kind of darkness, is suicide a sin? I believe that anybody who is in such a dark place as to contemplate or act on a feeling that there is no place to go except out is, I think our Heavenly Father has an immense amount of compassion for that person being in that kind of a dark place because they feel no hope. They don't know where to go. They're alone. They feel alone, isolated, with no answers and no resources. The only way to solve my pain is to stop it permanently. And that is not true. But the person who's in that situation believes it's true. So if it's a sin, if sin is missing the target, I would say taking one's own life is missing the target. It's in a state of not understanding the true nature of things. And I have a lot of compassion for that person. I would never judge somebody. I've had friends who've taken their lives, and I would never judge them and say they're going to hell. Because they're in hell, they're living it, and they don't know how to get out of it. They don't have the answers or don't believe the answers that they've been told. Do people who hurt themselves go to hell? So apart from sort of taking one's life, the ultimate hurting of oneself, there are lots of ways to hurt ourselves, right? In fact, we all hurt ourselves. We all do things at times in a state of confusion that aren't good for us, don't we? So we all hurt ourselves and we all hurt the people around us to some degree from time to time. So hell is being stuck in a place where you're not progressing, you're not moving forward. We can be in hell in this life, very much so. And we can be in heaven in this life too. So I think, a person who feels like they should or could, it's helpful to hurt themselves in some way. They're living in a sort of place of confusion and it's like they're not going to hell, they're already in it in a way. And so the way out of that chaos and darkness is with the light and truth. So And no, it's not a permanent thing. If you've hurt yourself, are you going to hell? No. But you can stay in a place that's like hell for a long time until you find out what the truth is that answers the problems that you're facing. You have comments to share about that with your peer, if you have anything to add. Yeah.
If you're going through something like that, maybe try to get some help for it. Maybe not professional help, but maybe talk to somebody about it. Just because I think that could be helpful.
There's so many helpful things to do, and thank you. We're going to get to those, and we're going to use the scriptures as maybe a foundation for some of that. Good. So let's open up our scriptures. Get your Book of Mormon out. I prefer if you have a physical set of scriptures that you can hold and mark up. Oh, I have no place to keep pencils. So let's check out Okay, so things fall apart. The longer I live, the more I realize, that things fall apart. They don't maintain the way that you would like them to be, within yourself, in the world around you, in relationships. Things just have a way of moving toward disintegration. It's the natural flow, right? Things fall apart. We're going to be in Alma 50 and 51. So we have here stories, okay, about the Nephites and the Lamanites. And we have Captain Moroni, and we have people like Amalickiah and his brother Amaron. And we have the bad guys and the good guys. And we've just kind of finished this era, these number of years of wars, which we learned yesterday were brought on by themselves in some ways, and they had to battle them. So now we're in a period of peace, right? Well, how long does that last? Let's look at verse 24 and 25 of chapter 50. And this is the story of Morianton. So let's go with, Charlie, would you read 24? And Skylar, would you read 25 for us, please?
And it came to pass that the 22nd year of the reign of the judges also ended in peace, yea, and also the 20th year.
It came to pass that in the commencement of the 24th year of the region, the judges there would also have been peace among the people of Levi, and had not been for contention which took place among them concerning the land of Levi, and the land of Morianton, and which joined the borders of Levi, both which were the borders by the seashore.
Okay. So there would have been peace, perpetual, continual peace in life, except what? Emma, what happens in this? There would have been peace had it not been. Yeah, and was it that they were seeking for not peace? It was like, we're going to go out and create some trouble. I don't know if that was it. It was because of people who weren't focused on peace, and it was because of, like it says here, had it not been for a contention which took place among them. If we are the Nephites, if you are the Nephites, could we have continual peace and happiness if it were not for some sort of affliction, friction or contention that we experience within ourselves or with those around us, right? It's like, that's how that happens. And then in the next chapter, we have a same thing, another story back to back. They have peace, and then something happens. And they have peace, and then something happens. Let's read chapter 51, verse 2. And Eliza, would you read that?
Nevertheless, they did not long maintain entire peace in the land, but they began to be a contention among the people concerning the chief judge, Moroni, who behold, there were a part of the people who desired that a few particular points of the law should be upheld.
Okay, so let's say we start with peace. And then there's some sort of contention. Okay, some sort of action, something happens to disrupt that peace. So then what's the next step? What happens after that? In the story of Morianton, they're fighting over land, all right? Like, they have a land dispute. The people in the city of Lehi and then Morianton's people, they can't, Morianton's people want to take more land and the people of the city of Lehi think it belongs to them. So they want to pull out their swords and fight each other about it. And the people from the city of Lehi run to Moroni and say, hey, we need help. We're not in the wrong. Like, Mom, Dad, hurt me, bullied me, took my toy. It's like they run to Moroni and they seek for help because the problem is bigger than they can solve on their own. So they go there and Moroni's like, well, okay, kids, we'll go settle this. We'll go work this out. And Morianton is like, oh no, Dad's coming. So we better run and hide. So Morianton convinces his people that they're going to move north to the land northward. And Moroni, Dad is like, no, you're not going there because that'll be a problem for me. It'll be a problem for all of my people and my family, and it'll be a problem for you. So we're not going to let you do that. So Moroni goes with his army and actually sends Tiancum to head the people off from running away, and they eliminate that problem. We'll say Morianton gets killed because he won't back down from his position. And then they bring the people of Morianton City back. They make peace. They say you're sorry, and they say sorry, and I promise you'll never do that again. And they never do that again, and they get along, and they basically become one family again, the Lehi people and the Morianton people. Right? That's that story. So what happens initially is they have peace, contention, and then they try to run away from facing it. All right. I might. I'll say this. They try to not face it, whatever the problem is. I think they can run away from it, ignore it. Okay. Okay. Now, to the story of the king then, all right, in chapter 51. There's a contention among the people concerning the chief judge. The kingmen want to change the laws. They don't want to be accountable to the rules. They want to be above them. They want to be kings over the law, to rewrite the law, to do what they want to do. They don't like to be beholden to family rules and church rules and commandments. So there's this dispute. And the kingmen, and they have a vote, and the people vote for what? For the free men, for the Constitution, for the reign of the judges, to keep going. Yes, go ahead. Do whatever you need to do. Yes, you don't need to ask permission. If you want to wander the halls, it's totally up to you. You just, come back when you can. So the kingmen lose the vote and they decide we're not going to be part of this. If we can't control the government, we won't be part of this people. We won't be governed by it. We won't be ruled by it. So they hear the Lamanites are coming, and they're like, we won't fight to defend this country. We dissent from our obligation to defend our nation. And Moroni's like, So the same thing happens right there. They try to not face it. They try to get away from being accountable for what is going on. So let's look at this. Why do things go wrong? And maybe this is a pretty simple box. I've tried to sort of distill it down. Why do things go wrong? Well, if it has to do with me, it's because it's like either I caused it or I didn't prevent it. And then if it's God, it's either God either caused it or God didn't prevent it. What do you think about that? Can God stop all bad things from happening? Charles, can he? He can. God can do anything. God is able to do anything, right? So if bad things happen, it means either God caused it for a wise purpose in him that we may not understand, that looks like a mess to us, but it's like perfectly according to God's plan to him, or he did prevent it from happening. A terrible, bad, awful thing happens to a human, and God didn't stop it. And he could have. Wow. How does it make a person who's the victim of that, God not preventing the bad thing? How do they feel? Maybe toward God. That's a tough one. Or if God caused it, why would you make my life hard? Why would you put me down here in this place of suffering? Or I caused it. I am the cause of my own trouble. It's like we learned yesterday, right? In those scriptures. Their destruction came from their own contentions, their own problems. Or I didn't prevent it. I knew something was wrong and I didn't attend to it. I didn't give it the attention that it required, and it got bigger. So what can I do? How can I respond? How can you respond when things go wrong? You have two options. There are two ways to respond. Anybody want to take a stab at this? Yeah.
Anger at yourself or anger at God?
Are either of those things good solutions?
No.
Like neither one is going to be helpful. Well, maybe. We'll unpackage that. Because you got to feel something, right? You got to feel something. So either you can respond in a, how do I say this? You can respond in a way to make it better or make it worse. Is that fair? Is that fair? Whenever you're faced with a challenge, with something going wrong, with things falling apart, it's like you can make it worse. You can definitely 100% have the power to make it go from bad to worse. You can take any bad situation and you can make it worse. Isn't that true? It's like, yes, with my bad attitude, with my lack of faith, with my bitterness, with my blaming, with my fighting, it's like, yes, I can make things way worse than they are. Or I can make them better. I have two options. A lot of times the problem is we do things to make it worse. It's a bad situation. The kingmen rise up. They want to overthrow the government. And then the Lamanites are coming. They could make it better and be like, okay, actually, we don't want our whole nation to collapse and fall down and our homes to be like burned and our grandmothers killed by the Lamanites. So we should fight. But no, they don't. They don't do the thing that's going to help. They do the thing that's going to make it worse. And they dissent. They opt out. Same over here with Morianton's people. It's like they could calm themselves down, sit down around the round table with Moroni and be like, no, we don't want to run and we don't want to fight. We want to get along and we have a dispute. They could make it better, but instead they make it worse. Run away from the problem, right? Run away. Don't face it. And that makes it worse. And eventually they die. Some of them die for it because they wouldn't make it better. All right. So let's see what Moroni does here. In Moroni, or Alma chapter 51, verse 14, 15, and 16. 14, 15, 16, and 17. Where are we? Ruby, your turn to read. Everybody take a verse starting with Ruby, Preston, Clara, if you can manage. All right, go ahead. Alma 51, 14. Follow along. This is good stuff.
Desiring that he should read it, and give unto him for an power to compel his descendants to defend their country or to put them to death.
But it was his first care to put improvements of such contentions to the centuries of the people. For behold, this had been hitherto upon all the destruction, and it came to pass that it was going to come to the rest of the people. And it came to pass by the word of the Lord that the Romans would go against their enemies, to pull down their fighting men with buildings, and blow on the surface, for they should take us down to support the passage.
And it came to pass that the armies did march forth against them, and they did pull down their pride and their nobility, insomuch that they did lift their weapons of war to fight against the men of Moab. And they were being and leveled to you.
Okay. So what happens here? How does Moroni feel about the source of the problem, the thing that disrupted the peace? Taylor, how does he feel? Not happy is an understatement, right? What are the words, Ben, that describe that? Wroth, filled with anger. Now, is he just an angry guy who's just like mad at the whole world and he's got this inner anger that's just like, it's got to come out somehow, so he's a fighting man? Like, what is he angry at? Levi Gibby, like, what is he wroth about? Well, not the Lamanites, but the kingmen, his own people. Like, within his own people, there is problem. Okay, and that we got to look at that like we are the Nephites. We have a problem within ourselves. Like there's something that's gone wrong. Okay, and we know it. And what do we do about that? Do we run from it? Did Moroni be like, oh, I'm afraid to talk about it, and I'm afraid I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna not do anything, and maybe it'll just go away by itself. Maybe if I ignore it, it'll get better. Is that Moroni's attitude? No, absolutely not. He does not ignore it. He's like, there's a problem? Okay, I'm going to solve this problem. Because what does it say there in verse 16? For it was his first care to put an end to such contentions and dissensions among the people. So that is a statement for us. Okay, you got to feel something about what is causing the problem. Okay, whatever it is that's destroying our peace, causing us to not have the Spirit with us, causing us to have contention in our lives, like what is it? And running away from it or ignoring it is not the answer. To be passive about it is not the answer according to this book and this hero and this story. To watch it happen or to let it happen or to ignore it or run away is not the answer. You got to feel something about the thing that's causing the problem enough to eliminate it. And it takes courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage to face the thing that's causing the trouble. So it's his first cause to put an end to that, to go after that thing. And that's what he does. It takes courage and he goes after it and he fights against it. And he eliminates it. Because he knows there will be no peace. Things will continue to fall apart as long as I don't take care of this problem. So, did I cause it? Or did I not prevent something from happening? This is something to think about. Not all problems come from us. They come from outside us. Things fall apart. That's the way this world is. It's the way this life is. Okay, challenges are going to come at us continually. And we have to have the right way to respond to it, or it will just get bigger and get worse. Moroni wanted to put an end to it when it was small and manageable. Okay, he's like, there's a problem. I'm going to take care of it now because I know it needs attention. So the things that are coming up for you in life, and for me, like when we recognize them through feeling this inner contention or dissettledness, this pain that somebody might be feeling enough to hurt themselves, like when we sense those things, like we have to give attention where attention is needed, or it's going to get worse. We have to have the courage to do that. And by so doing, our cause is righteous, and the Lord will help us to eliminate those problems. Now, it's not like they're all going to go away easily, but the answer definitely is not to do something that's going to make it worse. And I think this lesson is to be continued, but I know what I've spoken is true here. It's a simple way of thinking about why things fall apart. And there's a lot more to get into about how the answers and how the gospel helps us. We talked yesterday about how the commandments, if you follow them, things will go better. Give attention where attention is needed now, and don't procrastinate it before things get worse. I'll leave that with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Oh, you can just stay right there.